and welcome to Bougie Sports. Happy New Year! I haven't seen you guys since last year. Everybody still looks the same. I'm so happy that you're joining us. If you are joining me for the first time, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Bougie Sports. You can also check out the website at bougiesports.com. If you do go to YouTube, make sure you hit that notification bell because I'm kind of that ish girl, like today, like 3-ish, 4-ish. So you'll never know exactly when I'm going to go on. So that'll be awesome. You can also see past episodes of the Squad Pod with Lysandra and Lana, which will be coming up tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm Yvette, fan of. Hold on a second. Let's bring in my guest to help me with the Cleveland Browns record.
Oh, the Browns record, you say?
Yeah. Can you help us out, Adam?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, and I know that I've been mistaken in the past, but I believe they have 10 victories. It's 11. No, they're 11 and 5.
11.
The 17 games throw me off so much. 11 and 5.
11.
Owners of the number 5 seed, which means they're going to go on the road to play either the AFC South champion, which could be any combination of Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston, or else they get the Chiefs, right? I think that's right. I don't think you'll get the. You won't get the Bills, but whatever. Hey, look at you, Cleveland, killing it.
Listen, whatever it is, it's almost the exact opposite of what you said.
You know what? That was actually the thing. I mentioned that on Friday's show on NFL Fantasy Live. I said, you know what? I got no disrespect to you guys. I know you're already upset, so I'll just say it anyways. I want it to be the exact opposite. I want it to be the flipped, the inverse. Because famously, back in 2019, or the 49ers were coming off a down thing. And I'm like, this is like a 3-win team. They won 13. So mistakes have been made in the past and, things happen. And, but look at you, look at the Cleveland, look at you, by the way.
Speaking of the 49ers, do you remember if the Browns won that game?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, of course.
But
that was
I'm trying to think if you predicted I think you said they were going to.
I don't know because I might have. It depends. A lot of things. There's a lot of predictions going on, and there is oh gosh, yeah. So there's a lot of predictions going on and things of that nature. By the way, I forgot. I didn't bring. Oh wait, hold on. I got to make sure I plug in this computer. I'm sorry. Forgive me because I don't want this to be like, oh, rank bounce. Okay, good. This is plugged in. I don't want to be like, no. I want people to be like, he bounced. Oh, geez. Oh, it did flip for a second. Oh, that's what it did. It got the other monitor going. But yeah, listen, there's a lot of wrongness going on. And the pick last week against the Jets was mostly a tilt pick. It was a Dan Campbell, I'm going for 2 again pick. Actually, there was some kid who very nice. Quite honestly, for the most part, the Cleveland Brown fans have been fun. We've been having a good time with it. Like it is what it is, And some kid was like, pick us to lose to the Jets, please. And I said, you got it. Like for you, I will do it. So yeah. So there's been some mistakes made, definitely for sure.
Okay, so I'm already going off track, but I was looking just like at tweets, just to talk, and I was cracking up, laughing so hard of like how funny this whole situation is. Actually, it's absolutely. It's hilarious. Like I get it because I'm a Browns fan, so I totally understand it. But only the Browns fans can take that. You're on Bougie Sports, and we're talking about your schedule predictions. That's hilarious. Only we can have the power to do that. We'll talk about that. You know what? I want to say, Adam, you were the first person I've ever done a podcast with ever in my life.
Stop it. Is that for real?
That's for real. And that was on NFL Network on your show, Fantasy and Friends, back in, I think it was like 2018 with Mauricio and Drew. There you guys go, David.
I think it was 2016. I think my daughter was a year old. I think it was a year after my daughter was born. And so, yeah, it's funny because we were talking about you about a month ago because the showrunner from Fantasy and Friends was the showrunner for Total Access for a number of years. And this has been his first season with Fantasy Live this year. Alex Wilk, who you might remember, was one of our producers. Scott Gripe, another one of our producers. And we, you know, Scott was probably the guy that brought you in on the and through. And we were talking about that show about like how forward thinking it was. Like before everybody did Zooms during the pandemic, you know, we were using Zoom calls. You can see it in the background right there. And so, and just talking about like, we had a lot of cool recurring guests and you were one of them. We had stepmom Lauren who came on. A lot of the kids,
like all these girls I met from the Women of Fantasy Football. Shout out to the Women of Fantasy Football, which is hilarious because I went on a Zoom call with them, right? And they're talking, and I'm just staring at these two girls, and I'm like, oh my god, I swear to God, I was on Fantasy and Friends with them because they're a Steelers fan.
Was it Kate and Michelle? Yeah, Kate and Michelle.
And Michelle's actually in my Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah.
League. So I'm like, how everything's just gone back. You know, anyway, we're having our own private conversation, you guys. But
we're reminiscing now. Yeah, people want to be mad at me. They don't want to hear about the good times. But yeah, Kate and Michelle, it was so funny because they came on and you know, they're a couple, they're married. I believe they're married. Yeah. And so our host, Dave Damashek, was like, oh, so kind of like, what's going on there? There's like one bed, like he didn't understand, like there's one bed, like you ladies share a bed. I'm like, I'm like, what? And like MJD and I are just, or I think it might've been Aaron being like, Dave, like shut up. Like they're a couple. Like this happens now. Steelers fans, right?
Of course they're Steelers fans because I that's the show that you guys had us on together. I think it was the theme was that you wanted all women that time. There was one time,
yes,
you guys had all little different themes. And what Adam was saying, this was before the pandemic, so this was something
well before.
And I was just watching one time, and you guys, there was an ad that said, if you guys know fantasy football or whatever, contact it. And I contacted the site or whatever, and the producer loved my fantasy football team name, which was One Girl, Nine Bitches, because I was the only female in my league.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, you can't say that though. And then the next day, you guys brought me on, and I remember watching that show that day, and you were talking about Anne Hathaway looked good except for in Les Mis, and I was like, what the fuck? Anne Hathaway looks great in Les Mis, and I told you that. Anyways, you guys had me on like 6 or 7 times.
I was gonna say you were a recurring guest. Yeah, you were definitely one of the favorites. One of our go-to, because when you do that, you know, you never know what you're gonna get with a lot of these times. You're like, hey, like, you know, is this person cool? Are they energetic? Are they a lot of fun? Now, obviously, anybody who's watching this show feels the same way that I do, like energetic fun. Absolutely. So there was a reason why you were continuously brought back over and over again. And I think that, I don't know that we had an official count, but if you weren't the leader, I would be hard pressed. I can't remember who it would have been.
Well, I know I got your favorite friends because I think, Sandra, do we have that clip? At the end, you guys even had to do a montage of all my greatest hits because I think I have a little bit of part of it here.
At your Christmas get together, who would it have been?
Not Adam.
No.
Aaron. All right, let's change that. Yeah. Okay, let's. Who do you want at your New Year's Eve?
Yeah, that's, you know what? I took a video of this from my phone. That's why the quality is so great. But yeah, what a cool concept. And actually, I thought I got that show canceled because it never happened.
I'm trying to figure this out. I bring Fireball. Come on, guys. She turned the steel and she's got Stockholm. No, it's too late.
I would have picked Aaron as well.
Well, of course. I can pick Dave. He's a Steelers fan. Maurice used to do the Mo Money segment. Remember Mo Money? More money, more problems. And I would put the sunglasses on and be like, what's up,
Maurice? Of course.
Yeah. Because that was my thing. I always like wear different shirts and stuff, and I still do things like that. But,
and you always had hats on too, like you're doing right now.
Yes,
like there was always like a new hat. Like that was always like a production note too. Like, oh yeah, she's gonna come in with something fun, some cool hat. Yeah, you know, but that's what you want though. That's exactly what you want. And of course, like now you're coming in here with Bougie Sports, and it was you know what? I mean, if Fantasy and Friends did nothing but launch some of the careers for you and for, I know stepmom Lauren does a serious show now. She's actually in one of my fantasy leagues too.
Oh, really?
But you know, like we've seen and Kate and Michelle both work for us, and they're doing great. So it was a real cool platform.
Isn't Kelly? Does she work for you guys?
Kelly and Phoenix. I don't know if she worked. I mean, she does a sick podcast for Arizona Sports, but she does. I mean, she's been on with us before. She knows she knows ball, so to speak.
Yeah. So if you guys are hearing this, one way to meet and network is I went to the Fantasy Football Expo this year. You weren't there.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the expo in Canton at the Hall?
You know what? It's a difficult time for me because my son's birthday is in August.
Mm-hmm.
So it is always difficult for me to kind of break away. I remember 2 years ago, I had it. They're like, hey, I got to go to Cincinnati. And then they're like, you can drive from Cincinnati to Chicago to go do your stuff for the Bears. And I'm like, yeah, I got to fly home. So to fly home and do that. So it's usually right around my son's birthday. So I haven't been able to make it. I love Canton. I love the Hall of Fame. I haven't been to Canton in a long time. Like, that's the funniest thing. I love the city of Canton. I love the Hall of Fame. I haven't been there since they redid the stadium there and added the hotel and like all this stuff. Like, it's really, I always love the specter of it being a high school stadium. Because right when you walked up the ramp, there was like one of the locker rooms, and you just think about like, it's a high school locker room, like we all remember playing in back in the day. And so now it's super nice, but I'm like, I always sort of dug that it was a high school stadium and the stands were right there. But it's a great event and it's a great opportunity. So I would love to do it if I could work it out. But August is a little busy.
It is a busy time of year. Lucky for me, I live in Ohio, so it was just like a drive, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. But I got overserved the first day.
That happens.
I mean, that was the first 2 days are just fun.
Mhm.
I'm sure you heard about it. But I met your friend, that Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. He's so sweet. Everybody's there. So if you guys, look up something in August, Fantasy Football Expo. If you're really interested in fantasy football, it's a great networking opportunity. It is. Look, and it's so much fun. And the fantasy football community is the bomb. They really are. Like, they really are. They're supportive, and I really love them. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
All right.
You made predictions. Now, when you
Yeah.
guys get told do you get to pick like the team that you make predictions for, or did they?
I do that, but I do the whole thing. Like I do every single game, every team, every single game, which is why it always comes out a little bit funky, because you have to go out there, and it's easy because like a lot of times on some of these shows, and I'm not calling anybody out, but they're like, hey, you can do predictions and you can be like, well, all these teams are going to win 9 games, but you have to have somebody losing. And I think that there are not many people who are willing to go out there and just put it out there and be like, I don't think this team is going to be very good. And you got to have a reason why. And we sit down and we talk about it and we go through it. So I'm one of the few. There might be others out there, and I don't want to take away from anybody. I'm not trying to besmirch anybody, but I'm one of the ones that goes out there and says, like, this is going to be, I'll do it. I'll do all. It used to be 256. Now with the 17th, I guess I could do the math, but I won't. What is it? 263, whatever it is. So it evens out. So if you go through every prediction, I do every prediction for every team, and it evens out. I have a program. We have spreadsheets. So everything factors out. And sometimes you go through and you're like, this doesn't seem right. And I remember trying to get the Steelers. I'm like, Tomlin's going to finish. Like, I don't like the Steelers. I didn't like the way the Steelers were constructed, but it's like Tomlin always finds a way to win. Like, he always, like, it's quirky. It doesn't make sense, but somehow they'll end up with 9 wins. And you're trying to like move the puzzle pieces around because like they got to win 9 games. They won, which they did. And then, and sometimes I was obviously very bullish on the Bengals. And even without the injuries, I don't think it was, who knows, like there was, they've been battling injuries the whole year. Even when Joe Burrow started the season, he was battling through his calf injuries. The Browns fans will sit there and be like, injuries are no excuse. And you've actually proven that to be correct. But typically what you do when you go through these situations, and it comes down to like, not momentum, but like, how has this team been trending and what is their quarterback situation? And when I looked at the Browns, a team that had missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, there were still some questions at the time about Kevin Stefanski. I don't like the fit of Deshaun Watson with this system. And I'm like, I don't feel good about talented roster. Yes. But I don't feel good about it. I could see them slipping and they have to reset it once again and get a new coach in here and everything. And again, like in every time that you do this, the fans of the teams will come after you preseason wise. I know that the Commanders fans were all over me. The Titans fans were all over me. There were also 2 other teams where I'm like, I don't like the quarterback. situation. I don't like where this team is heading, and I don't think it's going to be very good because, and again, one of the complaints that I get is like, well, you can't look at this roster. I'm like, well, you can because every NFL team has a talented roster. Like if things break well for them, I'll use the Bears as an example. Like they lost 3 games that had they won, they had a 90+% chance of winning, including the game against the Browns. They blew it. And I think that the percentages of them blowing all 3, it was against the Lions, the Broncos, and the Browns. Like it was a 0.0003% chance they lose. But the point is that if the Bears somehow had managed to win 9 or 10 games, oh, you better believe I would be pulling receipts and telling people, how did you look at this roster and think that the Bears were going to win and a lot of people too, like said that the Bears weren't going to win even 4 games and that they were going to get the number 1 pick in the draft, which they did, but because of Carolina. I haven't had the stomach to go through and to do that, mostly because they got Green Bay this week and I don't want it to go horribly wrong. But but quite honestly, yeah, I was really mistaken. And I think that the Browns, I don't know. Listen, the Browns and the Bears, like the DNA is not that different. It's a very pessimistic, like we both have like very like 2 sides of these fan bases that there's one side that's pessimistic. Not everything sucks. Nothing's going to work. I'm going into this year like, nope, not going to happen. And then there's a part of the fan base that's like, you know what? Like if things come together, like Amari Cooper's great, Nick Chubb's doing great, and like there's a lot of reasons for optimism and you'll point to that. And so I did not take an optimistic approach for the Browns. No. It has proven to be incorrect. And quite honestly,
a couple times, Adam, that you were wrong.
No. It's fair. Yeah, people have told me, like, I saw it. I was there. Like, it's the whole thing. Like, people are like, do you remember this? I'm like, yeah, I was there. Like, I filmed this. It took us 3 days to film all this stuff. I was certainly there. And I know. And so a lot of times.
Can I tell you why I think that what happened with can I speak from the Browns fan?
Sure, please do.
Okay. So, there are a lot of things that you mentioned. I think it's funny because you didn't do anything different than we have people in their own Cleveland sports media that had the Browns with a worse schedule than you had us. I mean, and like what you said about the fan base, I mean, half of our fans had the same thing. So what you said was really nothing that anyone really wasn't. I mean, you weren't that far off. Okay. Yeah. Probably. I mean, look at what the Browns, like you said, your job is to follow the trends, but yeah. I'm just going to speak from my perspective and what I think how this situation blew up. We used to have a quarterback named Baker Mayfield. Okay. The Browns did a crazy trade. If you remember, which I'm a huge diehard Browns fan. I love the season. It's so exciting for me. When football season comes around, it's the best time of year. So, and also as a fan, we have no choice on who our quarterback is, who gets hired, who gets fired, what happens with our organization. So something happened. They made a trade. Not a lot of people like that trade. We don't have a choice. We still want to watch football. So we lost the season because our quarterback didn't play that season. And we also felt like I lost being part of the NFL family. It felt like nobody liked the Browns anymore. The Browns, how could the Browns do that? And like, even like watching Good Morning Football, I used to love watching it. And it's like, you'd watch it and like, nobody wanted to talk about the Browns or they didn't know how to talk about the Browns.
Yeah.
But when you're a fan of the Browns, you just want to talk about your team just as much. And also the Chief. Okay, I'm going to speak for the Chief too. The Chief came on our team when we didn't win a game back when I was on Fantasy and Friends. Yeah. And there's more people. I think that hate kind of trickled down not only to the fan base, but to the team itself because we have other players. We have Nick Chubb. We have huge players. And all of a sudden it was like nobody likes the Browns. So we're happy, right? So the hype train's coming, right? The new season starting. Whoop, whoop. We got a quarterback now. We're going to get ready to go. And then it's just like, when you get your breaking point and it's at the beginning of the year, wouldn't you say that's the most exciting part when you're so excited 100%. About your team? You're ready to go. And then Adam Rank comes on the TV and he says, Browns fans, you're not going to the playoffs. So guess what? I think that just became that kind of you became the face of what didn't happen. And what happened was, like, look at how great we're doing. So you're like, eat crow, right, Adam Rank. Fuck you, Adam Rank. That's what people want to say.
As I should say, yeah. Listen, believe me, I would be MFing everybody who, well, that like, I'm the same way. Like I'm a fan too.
It's
Like
hilarious.
it's okay. Like I'm willing to put my face on it, and so it's okay. And like honestly, like, and you know this, because the clips the clips you've been showing, you see like I'm wearing wrestling shirts all the time.
Yeah.
So I understand that there's like a heel aspect of it that you have to be willing to be like, yeah, okay, like you're really, and it sucks because I like Cleveland fans. I like the city of Cleveland. I think Ohio, like I said, I was talking about the Hall of Fame. I know Canton's different from Cleveland, but I really don't have any sort of disdain for Cleveland. Now I've poked fun at you for the last couple of weeks as a heel move, like you would expect.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a heel in Cleveland now. So I've got to like Bret Hart didn't really hate America, but he leaned into that thing for a little bit. So I'm just having a little bit of fun. And our researcher on Fantasy Lives from Cincinnati. So it's also like we made a couple of jokes on our PSAs about like, well, it's not like you're from Cleveland, you know what I'm saying? Just screwing around, just having a good time. Like there's nothing, I'm not upset. Like there's nothing like even because one of your players, and it wasn't not David, but a different player reached out to one of my coworkers and was like, hey, like is Rank cool or not? And like that kind of stuff, like, because you just want to know. And it's like, you know, obviously the Cleveland fans and the players, like, and that's also the,
you know, Adam, isn't that like the fact that the Chief was like, that guy sucks?
Oh my God.
Fans, we were like, what?
Like, a very memorable name.
We love you. Like that makes them feel like one of us, you know?
Hell yeah. That's what you want. Like you don't it's hard to imagine. Like I never understood this until a couple of years ago. Like I was in Chicago. I was in Lake Forest, and going to do a couple of things at Hallis Hall. And I'm doing a stand-up outside of the Bears facility. And Travis Gibson drove by in his truck and rolled down his window. And he's like, yo, Rank, what's up? And you're like, oh, do you guys like watch the show? And then David Montgomery had walked up. He's like, hey, thanks for never dogging me. He's like, I know somebody. And like James Jones used to work for our network. He's a friend of mine. And he knew, like, he's like, yeah, you're the Bears guy. He's like, I always had to watch out for you. He's like, you were always fair to me, but like, I always had to watch out for you. So it's amazing how in tune a lot of these players are. And it's great because that's what you want. Because as you said, like you were a Browns fan before all these players got here. You will be a Browns fan after all these players leave. So what you want is you hope the players are as invested as you are. Now, obviously for some of them, it's a job. This is my career. I'm making businesses, and that's fine. Like I have no problem with that. But you also want to be like, you have to understand where we are coming from as fans. I do a Bears podcast. I do it with a current Bears player. And in week 1, and I will talk about it with him this week, like you cannot lose to Green Bay. Like I just can't stand, like whatever's happened, like everything that's been positive this season, you can't lose to Green Bay. And I'm sure that it's a similar sentiment with you guys in Pittsburgh. Like I don't want to be the Steelers. I don't want to lose to the Steelers. I don't want to be the team that helps Mike Tomlin get over 500. Like, I don't want to be that team. Like, please don't let it be me. Let it be somebody else. Right. And so you don't want to be in that kind of situation. And even like, and then going back to Baker Mayfield, like how great was it? Like, and this got glossed over like really quick, is that you guys won a playoff game and you won it with Baker Mayfield against the Steelers. Like, that's that's what you want. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want. And you want these players.
One of our best games ever.
Yeah. And you want like Baker Mayfield to come out and be like, I'm glad we beat the Steelers. Like, cause I understand what's going on. And for David Njoku to be like, hey, there's a guy that all the Browns fans hate. I sort of hate him too. He sucks. Like, that's amazing. Like that is so rewarding as a fan. You're like, okay, like all the money that I've spent on merch, how many beers I bought at that stadium. Like there's this moment, the t-shirts from our great friends at Homage.
Yes.
Like that's what you want to be like, yeah, like we're in this together. When you feel like, okay, yeah, this player cares about this stuff that matters to me as well.
Yes. exactly. So that's why we loved it when they said this guy sucks. We're all about it. Like, put it on a hat. You know?
I would be eating. I couldn't imagine, because there's a couple Packers guys who not Tom Grossi, or not the cool ones, not Grossi or not Aaron, but there's a couple that I can't even remember. I have him muted on Twitter. I can't even think of his name, and I don't care. But if somebody came out, like if Cole Kmet just came out and was like, this guy sucks, oh my God, we would eat that up so much. So as much as it's like, oh, it kind of sucks for me in a way. Well, it doesn't suck for me. My daughter's like, why can't I watch your show now? Like, you don't want to watch it this week. You're good. We'll catch up next year. But it's fun. And it's fun. And I think that for the most part, and most Browns fans have been cool. One guy hit me up on Cameo. I didn't realize, I mean, obviously I do cameos. And so his name was Sean. And he goes, hey, can you do this cameo? I'm like, God, I'd love to. And so we did it, and we sat down, and I was doing, I'm like, oh, wait, is the name David? And I'm doing it, and I'm referring to David. And it wasn't until he put it on Twitter, I was like, oh God, he meant David and Njoku. I'm like, what an idiot. Like, how did I not put that together? Yeah. This is for David. Like, Sean bought it for David and Njoku. Like, no, well, I would have leaned into it a little bit more. And that was, you know what? And the funniest thing about that, and this goes to the ability to never being able to please people all, like, you can't please everybody, like is an old adage, is, I honestly, whenever I do cameos, I usually spend time, and I take, a lot of time, but I was doing a charity drive. So I was trying to like get out as many as possible to go out and do this. And it was like a 6-minute video. So when he tweeted it out, the first comment, it's like, hey, 6 minutes. Like, that's good value. Like, what a nice guy. And then the next comment underneath, it's like, I'm not watching 6 minutes of this. But it's like nothing. You can't win. Like, you just at some point you realize you can't win. So you just go out there and do what you can, and try to remain level-headed about it. And I feel what we're doing now. And we've reconnected.
I know.
I'm so happy about this.
Hey, Lysandra, do you have that video that you made?
Gosh.
You have Lysandra in the back. She made this video. Yeah, here we go.
There is still a lot of uncertainty with the Cleveland Browns, and I think they're going to struggle. And I think it's just 6 wins in Cleveland this season.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. There's a guy, Adam Rank. That guy sucks.
Cleveland rocks. Cleveland. Oh, yeah. Cleveland rocks.
Oh man, I bet. By the way, I bet my friend Smiling Demi is watching here. Yeah. I'm not brave enough to go into the comments.
Oh no, we're gonna talk a little bit about it before I get you up. I feel like I've got you here. We're gonna talk.
No, of course.
Let's bring up some
But wait, hold on. Not the guy who's like, don't let your family come to. Like, there's like a lot of people have been pretty cool, and there's a guy like, hey, you can never come to Cleveland. You're like, that's fine. And he's like, or your family. You're like, whoa, like a little. And then a couple of Browns fans are like, that's too far. Yeah. It's like Chris Farley in Black Sheep, where he's out there doing a stump speech for his brother, and he takes it a little too far. And they're like, whoa, like Peter Tosh, I think, is the guy who's like, no, that was way too far. But it's also a
hilarious movie, by the way.
I love it. I was watching Tommy Boy last night, but I'm like, I want to watch Black Sheep.
Yes, that is so funny. I haven't seen that in a minute. Like I said the other day when I was going through Twitter, like, oh yeah, who hurt you? And then I put the Olive Garden breadsticks on there because I thought that was so funny.
That's a good line, right?
Yeah. Let's see, what do we got next?
Oh boy.
That was after the game. Did you see David? Are we calling him David?
There's David.
That was so awesome.
He was, you know what? The clip of him with the kid, like I started, I was, you know what? Because, as a father, it's so like little moments like that are so great. We used to go. So we live in Southern California. We go to Angel games all the time, and we used to. Because he won't be playing for us anymore. We used to go to all the games that Ohtani was the starting pitcher, and you could buy seats first row behind the bullpen. You get there early enough, you stop by Del Taco, you spread it out, and we'd sit there and watch Ohtani warm up. So we're like 4 feet from Ohtani throwing pitches or whatever, and the other Angels would come out the other Angel pitchers would come out and watch. They never look in the crowd ever. Like they're trained because everybody wants a ball. And my daughter's favorite player besides Ohtani was a pitcher named Patrick Sandoval. And so I'm like, Patrick, and he's not going to look. And I'm like, hey, I go, my 8-year-old daughter wants to wave at you. She doesn't want a ball. She just wants you to wave and acknowledge her. And so he, hey, hey, Ahsoka. And then he went back to his thing, like not looking up at the crowd. That kind of stuff connects with me so much. So when I saw him do that with that kid after the playoff and watching the fans or watching the players run around the stadium, like it was such a joyous thing.
That was
like it was, yeah, there was, it was cool. No, it was really cool. Like it was cool to see him do that. It was again, that kid's going to be a Browns fan for life. Like he's never going to forget that. Like that is always good. And that's always going to be his guy. And it's amazing. It is really cool stuff.
Listen, what other picture do we have? All right. Oh yeah, this is I had to put up my tweet on there because this is an old clip. I watched this live and the schedule was released weeks ago. That's when you retweeted your predictions.
Was that in August? Well, they don't let me change it.
So, yeah, it was
well, that's it. Like Joe Burrow, like we filmed those in April, like right after the draft. So we filmed those in April, and I'm like, and so obviously the NFL Total Access account will tweet out those things too. And you're like, and this is Joe Burrow's like out, and I'm like, bro, they're not going to win 14 games. Is there any way? But again, because I pick every game, if I change Cincinnati's record, they have to change or whatever. And the video, the YouTube video that they do already has like 800,000 views. And they're like, we don't want to change it. And you're like, all right.
And I keep retweeting it and tweeting every Browns
fan.
We retweet.
Listen, and I'm not trying to besmirch you. The Bears haven't won the Super Bowl since, that's good. Oh, Nick. Damn it, Nick.
Current says Adam Reek level 6. All right, let's see what else.
God damn it, Nick.
What else you got?
That's fair.
Oh, this one was so funny.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I read this.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the fantasy, which means we finally lose all the spreadsheet dorks who know absolutely. How dare you?
Adam Rank. That's awesome. What else we got?
Oh, I know what that means. By the way, my kids are in dual language immersion. I know what your name means. Heard Adam Rank is smashing the. Oh my God! Can I?
That was Thursday when we had I think.
Oh, it's Hawk. Hawk came out. My guy Hawk came out.
Yes. Adam Rank.
Keep up the. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Legitimately fair.
That's the Brown Spider. Next, who else do we have?
That's good. How dare you? There's plenty of people worse.
Job than Adam Rank.
Hold on. I was at it. No, it's very true. Very true. That was very bad.
Is that all of them?
You know what's funny? You suck. Okay.
That's just you suck. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Don't let it be the one. Wait, hold on. Is that the guy? Slime Dog, I think, is okay.
Yeah. I picked some. Yeah. Who else? Is that all of them? Oh, I put 2 of Nick Kine. That's very high. Been wrong. Oh, yeah.
Well, this was again. This was the one it might have been Nick. It was like, he's like, I don't even know who you're playing next week, but I'm picking them. Like it's a Jets. And I'm like, all right. I went into it because I'll be honest with you with these things right here.
Yeah.
I do get tipped off because I love fading the public.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so our guy that does these, he's like, one of your opportunities, he goes, you're inadvertently fading the public because you have Miami. And I'm like, yeah. I go, Miami made a lot of sense because in games in December where the number one offense has played the number one defense, the number one offense usually always wins. So I'm like, that's believable. The Ravens are coming off a huge win in San Francisco on Christmas. Like there's a lot of things. Like I think Mike McDaniel is going to have something cooked up. Nope. So this is really helping my cause. Like I'm trying to tell people that I'm not a dipshit, and they're like, "Well, you picked Miami." I'm like, "Yeah." Like it would have been if you would have caught me during people in Denver think I'm a genius. People in Denver were apologizing to me, like, "Hey, we're sorry, we ruined this." Like when you go to like my Instagram dashboard of like cities where I'm over, like it's Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and then Denver was number 4 because Denver had fallen in love. and we had a great time for quite some time. And then it's, Sean Payton's like, nope, I don't want to win anymore. So, although they did beat the Chargers, so it's not that big of a thing. But this was one where you're like, fading the public here. I'm like, well, listen, there's been 2 times this year where I didn't do it. One of them was the Green Bay game at Detroit on Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, I hated myself forever until on Christmas, they talked me out of it. I said, hey, I go, the Chiefs suck, dude. I'm not taking the Chiefs. Like, no. Don't do this. Like, it's too far. I'm like, no. I go, the Raiders are going to beat them. And so then I'm like, all right. So then this one, my friend, he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I go, and again, this is going to sound terrible. I don't want to dig myself in any further, but I'm like, we've seen in the last couple of weeks, like, because home road doesn't matter. Because like Detroit lost at home, because it was the same situation. Like Detroit lost at home on Thanksgiving. Kansas City just lost at home on Christmas. Both teams needed that win. I go, could the Jets just do something like, because it's like, I don't know, because like as a Bears fan, like you already, like I always pick the Bears to win, but it's like so many Bears fans are so pessimistic. I'm like, I get it. Like I get that feeling of it. And I'm like, and I go, I do love fading the public. And I go, it's fun. Like the Browns fans hate me anyways. I go, let's do it. Let's go. Let's have some fun with it.
Questions for you from the Browns fans. Oh, sips my coffee with me. That guy's like, I just try to pick cute people. All right. I have a couple questions. I got to put my glasses on too.
Oh, you arrived on time when I was here. Like that, it's not 3-ish. Like you were you were on time to tell me that I sucked. I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I was. I have a comment. This is only a comment for you. They said I would only ask that he keep picking the Browns to lose, as his guess of being wrong feels almost supernaturally uncanny.
But I can't do that in the play. I have to take the playoffs seriously. I'm good. No. I'm good in the playoffs. My picks, you can go through the history. I destroy the playoffs. I am good, and I'm going to be picking the Browns. Do not get scared. When you're in Jacksonville or Houston or whomever, wherever you are, in the first super wild card weekend, do not get upset when I pick the Browns. I am good in the playoffs. You have no reason to believe me, and I have no reason to earn your trust. But I'll build it back in the playoffs.
Yeah. Some of these questions, a lot of them you already answered with us.
They're nasty.
Is he all the way in or out on because Justin Fields?
Oh yeah, I love Justin Fields.
And this was not just a troll job. A lot of people want to know, was that just a troll job to get engagement from the fans? Or did you really believe the Browns, this is from the Browns Spider, would have a worse record despite all the off-season roster additions, including like Schwartz as defensive.
But again, like every team goes into the season feeling like we've done enough to be competitive this year. Every team feels that way. And whether it's the Ravens and the Steelers and all these teams, like somebody has to be bad. Like it's just I can't pick everybody to go 9-8. Like somebody has to lose, and it's a very difficult decision. And I spend a lot of time trying to go through this. Again, going through the Commanders, going through the Commanders, the Titans, even like the Vikings. The Vikings are another one too. Oh my God, the Vikings fans they were coming after me. And it's also worse because I'm a Bears fan. So like, you're so biased, you're, this, that, or the other thing. And the Packers fans as well. Although the Packers fans were kind of like skeptical because Jordan Love, his first season, they didn't quite know. They're like, maybe. So I was pretty on point with those two, even with Detroit, because Detroit's record looks different now because had the Bears beaten them in that second game where they had the 13-point lead with 4 minutes to go, the Bears would be back in it. So again, you have to there's a lot, every team feels that way. Now, Spider, you understand, you follow the Browns closer than anybody. So you co-sign a lot of it. Like you're like, yeah, like you again are taking the most optimistic approach of the way the season is going to break out. And so it's very difficult in the NFL because these teams are all professional. It's not like baseball. Like nobody sneaks up on you in baseball. Nobody comes for, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not one team spending a payroll of $50 million while one team has 8 players making at least $50 million. That doesn't happen in the NFL. The money gets dispersed. The Browns had a lot of talent. They really did. But realistically, Stefanski had struggled for a couple of years. And Deshaun Watson played well in his final game against the Ravens. But even that was a huge question mark for me. And as Yvette was kind of alluding to, like, there is something about the Browns that unfortunately, and it sucks, and it's unfortunate, and it's not your guys' fault, and it's very difficult. But when you're a hardcore person, you go along with it. Like, I know we had somebody here who she used to work with us, and she became a Browns fan like after the fact, and it was very easy for her to bounce. Once they make a trade for that quarterback, she's like, I'm out, and whatever. But for a lot of us, we're like, we're gonna wear whatever terrible decisions our team makes. I'm not shocked that the Browns are winning a lot of games. Like, this isn't like, it's not so out of left field where you're like, I can't.
Flacco is our quarterback.
I can't believe. I actually, it's fine. I kind of like. If I'd have known that Flacco was the quarterback, I might have been a little bit no. But and by the way, and I love Joe Flacco. Like, if you could look now, my training is as a sports reporter. And I came up as a sports reporter, and they just, it was easier for them to put me on the fantasy show than the big boy shows like Total Access or whatever, even though I do those as well. But I've loved Joe Flacco for the longest time. Like, when he was playing for the Ravens and they were the foil for the Patriots, I'm like, people always overlooked how good he was in the playoffs. I'm like, this guy is one miraculous playoff run away from being a Hall of Famer. And what's happening with Cleveland right now, I'm not ruling it out, because when you look at it, I was on with Andy McNamara, and we were talking about like the Philadelphia Eagles a couple of years ago when they made the switch at quarterback, when Carson Wentz went down. It's like, we're not out of this is not unprecedented. I mean, hell, think about the way Tom Brady started his career. It's not unprecedented for a backup quarterback to take a team to the Super Bowl and win it. So if I was a Browns fan,
Nick Chubb, we don't have an offensive line. We have tons of injuries, and we have Joe Flacco, and we are, what's our record?
11-5 at the moment.
Did you get into your fantasy leagues?
Oh, I got eliminated in the championship round. I went up. I don't know how I played everybody who had CeeDee Lamb. Like, CeeDee Lamb.
It's over. Now what? You guys still have a job making predictions since fantasy's over?
I'll still be making predictions.
I know.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what the way the NFL goes? Maybe you'll all get your wish, and I'll be working at Costco next year. But
we don't want that.
No, it's been but to answer the question, like, I was more optimistic on some of the other teams in the division. It's a tough division too, and I thought that if Cincinnati was healthy, they would have been better. Obviously, Cincinnati was actually my pick to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC. I had them and the 49ers as my Super Bowl picks. So I should have switched that to Cleveland, and then I would look like a genius. You know what? I also like. There's also
my podcast then.
I know. Yeah. Like, I should have, but I love the city of Cincinnati too. Ohio's got some great towns. And so, no, I really liked, I like Cincinnati. You know why? Because I like their quarterback better.
I have a quick fantasy question. Lysandra wants to ask you. This is like real quick, Lysandra, come on. And I started a fantasy football league for the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah.
That earlier, if you're lucky, you should look at scottfishbowl.com. They do a lot of work for charity, fantasyorg.com, I think it is, right?
Fantasy Cares.
Yes, Fantasy Cares. And so this year I decided to start my own Browns Twitter league, and we're going to donate to Fantasy Cares somehow. I think I might make these hats and donate some of the money to Fantasy Cares. This way we can branch something negative that happened and make it positive. I think we were talking to Scott Fish earlier, and we were trying to get some t-shirts made in time, but with the holiday weekend and everything,
it happens.
stay tuned. Like, look out for something like that coming in the future. But Lysandra, you had a quick question you wanted to ask.
I did. I am a self-proclaimed fantasy football spreadsheet dork. So,
Yes.
so I had a question about drafting. So, with the quarterback position being redefined by players like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, for example, to me, it seems like draft strategies have changed and people are quick to pick a quarterback up early in in their drafts. Do you think this is going to be a trend that continues? And also, have you changed how you personally draft because of this?
You know what? I think anybody who picked Patrick Mahomes early this year probably will not. I think they're going the other way. They're like, I'm not drafting a quarterback until the 9th round or whatever it is. I think the most important thing that you can do is understand the scoring settings for your league, because there are leagues, because we go over this on the show where you're like, hey, Patrick Mahomes had 17 fantasy points. I'm like, well, he had 25 in mine. Come to find out, you get bonuses for passing yards. Touchdowns are worth 6 points. In one of my leagues, it's ridiculous because you get bonus points at like 250, 300, all these things. You get 6 points for passing touchdowns, and interceptions are -1. You have to have a good quarterback in those kind of leagues. So I think that the best thing that you can do is just really understand your scoring settings. Now, a lot of us made a miscalculation where it was Patrick Mahomes this year, although he was victimized by Travis Kelce dropping a lot of balls, MVS dropping a lot. I think we kind of underestimated how great Juju Smith-Schuster was, because obviously they went from they lost Tyreek Hill, still won a Super Bowl. So you're like, okay, he's fine. You're like, oh, Juju was the one holding it all together. And of course, Rashee Rice came on at the end of the year, and hopefully that momentum can go back into next season. But I really do believe that it is important. Like, it is so much, life is so much easier when your quarterback is good. All the teams that I made it to the finals with had Josh Allen. So that still says to me, it's important to have a good quarterback. It's fun to stream quarterbacks. We saw it with Joe Flacco. We've seen it with Jacob Browning, had a couple of weeks where it was good. Baker Mayfield was a guy that we rode. And even in the playoffs, Baker Mayfield is still the quarterback 4 in the playoffs, but wasn't necessarily great in the championship round. So I truly do believe that it's important to have a good quarterback, but also if you draft a tight end in the first round, hopefully he lives up to that expectation, because he did not this year.
I
You know,
drafted.
I want to say, like, Lysandra
I'll
is
see.
the Squad Pod.
Yes.
We started another podcast on
Mhm.
the Bougie Sports Network called the Squad Pod, and it's me, Lysandra, and Lana. It's going to be an all-female produced show, and they're coming on tonight at 8:00.
Awesome.
So look for that. And Lana, who I was talking about, she was in the Browns Twitter League, and she took the Browns defense in like the 4th or 5th round, and I just couldn't stop laughing about it because she never played before. Okay, this is her first year, so we're Browns fans, so they're gonna. And I just thought that was so funny.
Have fun.
It ended up being a good pick. Sometimes it.
I was gonna say, like, every time I never roast anybody for making picks like that, because is it Aubrey? Is it Aubrey or is it the 49ers kicker? One of those kickers are just ridiculous this year. And he went early. And I'm like, I know better. Like, I'm not going to question it. Like, you draft how you want to draft, because so many guys, like, think of who a lot of the league winners were this season. Guys like Raheem Mostert, Kyron Williams for sure. A lot, Puka Nacua. Like, we're doing the show today, and we were talking about who are your best late round draft picks? You're like, well, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. And they're like, well, those are waiver wire guys. I'm like, not me, fool. I just drafted them. Still managed to not win. I don't know how that happened. But in any event, I know. I went up against CeeDee Lamb and Breece Hall. But I'm not bitter. Not by any. That's what kills me the most. But
I sucked at the Scott Fish Bowl. This was my first year.
I had a question on Lana's behalf.
Yes.
Okay, you have one more
Lana wanted some fantasy football tips for rookies.
That's the one who drafted the Cleveland Browns defense.
Yeah.
Well, next year, let's huddle up. We'll do a seminar. I'll come back on next year.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know average draft position. It's fun if you want to draft the Browns defense, I don't have any problem with that. Just, you can wait till the 9th round. You have to know where the auto pick starts. Because if usually when you're in these leagues with auto pick, round 9 is the one where you filled up all your spot. You filled up the quarterback, 2 running backs, the receivers, the tight end, the flex, And then that next pick's going to be the defense. So if you want a defense, you can go ahead and do it. But I think for the most part, the best thing you can do is go to any site like Fantasy Pros or Fantasy Football Calculator and look at the average draft position and understand where these players are going in drafts. You don't have to draft too early. It's cool to like a player and maybe make a pick earlier than you would want to. I did that with Breece Hall in a couple of leagues where you're like, you know what? I know he's not going to come back to me in the third round. So even though his ADP's in the third round, I'm going to do it. Also, make sure that you're looking at the situations for teams going into next season. I thought that DJ Moore coming into this year was going to be targeted the most of any of those Bears wideouts. And he was. But what happens next year if the team takes Marvin Harrison Jr.? Or what happens? I know. What's going to happen next year? Are we going to be friends next year? Because I'm sure there's a lot of you that pull for Ohio State, and you're going to have Justin Fields and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same team.
Crazy. I might have to become a Bears fan.
You can be a de facto, like a little. You don't have to be diehard, but that's cool. Like you can like players, and
I like the 49ers kind of because Ed DeBartol's from where I'm living.
That's right, the DeBartolos.
So I always try to throw that. Try to.
Dwight Clark had some Ohio ties.
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for the Bills, like the 90s Bills.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Josh Allen's good. The Bills are kind of like our cousin team in the rounds.
Yeah. Well, it's right across. Yeah. They're just, you just drive around the lake and you're there.
Yeah.
I always pull, and this is going to be tough if you guys match up against them, because this is going to be difficult for me, because I always have a certain affinity for Jacksonville. I met a bunch of their fans. The coolest thing about the Jags fans is back when they used to have the draft at Radio City Music Hall, this kid had his phone out and he's like, hey, can you just say Duval? Oh, my voice is going. And so I did it. And I go, what the hell did I just say? And then he explained to me about it. And then there was a ton of them, like a ton of Jags fans in New York there for the draft. So I hung out with them. It was the year that they drafted Blake Bortles. So I also felt bad for them as well. But I really grew to like them.
Ready for the draft on the road.
I have another fantasy question.
Okay.
Do you have a fantasy shit list, like of players that you refuse to draft?
No, I don't. I try not to take that kind of. I don't want to be. No. If the players
go, Joe Mixon. I don't know why.
I
just haven't. He always does bad for me, so he's on my.
You don't know why? I think Joe not drafting Joe Mixon's very defensible.
Yeah.
For reasons that we don't need to go into here. Honestly, like I remember having to stream Jordan Love for a week this season. But I typically don't want to take Packers, so I really don't like. There's nobody. I don't write anybody off because I think that's a fool's errand. I know that there's some players that have ended up burning me, but they burn other people too. Because like Patrick Mahomes will end up being the sixth quarterback drafted next year. Because people will take Josh Allen, people will take Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, maybe. But I never want to just close the door on anybody. I feel like it's better to love than to hate. So let's have you know what I'm saying? Like, so never say never. Because you never know.
Never say never, whatever you do. I think that was from Fievel, American Tell. Remember American Tell at Fievel? Somewhere out there.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I got it.
Got it. All right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. That was.
Oh my gosh! Thanks for having me. This has been a blast. But honestly, the best thing to come out of this is that we've reconnected. You were always a favorite of ours on Fantasy and Friends. So the fact that we again, before this all went down, actually, you know what? That's why it came up, because it was the week before the Bears-Browns game. And Scott Gripe came up and he's like, hey, remember Yvette? I'm like, yeah. I go, she's excellent. And so we were reminiscing about that show. It was a great show. A lot of this stuff that you see on Fantasy Live right now originated on Fantasy and Friends. And so that'll always be something that I look back on fondly. It was one of my favorite years of television ever.
Bring back more fans next year and bring me back on.
They do it on the Wednesday show. I can't believe. I'm upset that they never reached out to you. No. I'm not on the Wednesday show. I can't be held responsible.
On Fantasy Live.
This is one thing I cannot be held responsible for. But
Okay.
it is, but honestly, it was a year that I look back on with great fondness. And one of the reasons why was because of you and your great energy. And so I am so proud of what you're doing here. And I'm glad that your voice is being able to be heard, and that, and this has been great. So, you know what, if it took David and Joku roasting me, it was well worth it, just to once again be back in your good graces,
Yeah.
or just to be in your presence. So thank you. We'll do this again soon. Okay, a couple of things before I go. Don't hate me when I pick you in the playoffs. I'm good in the playoffs. Trust me. You have no reason to believe me, but I am. We'll do this again before the draft, maybe. And then, you know, when I do the preseason picks next year, whether it's for the NFL or not, I will come back on. I will come back on and atone for whatever prediction I make. I can't make any promises, but that's all I got.
Awesome.
Love that. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank
Every
you.
time we leave
you.
the show, we always do a 1, 2, 3
Oh,
go
gosh.
round.
All
So,
right. All
Are
right.
you? Will you? Go
I'm in. I'm in. All right.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Go
Go Browns!
Bye, guys. Thank you.